is used to thicken and take some of these smooth soups and sauces and make them just the right texture for you. But gluten is also found in tons of processed food. It's in cookies, it's in pasta, beer, salad dressing, even granola bars. But is this tiny protein harmful? I want you to meet Dr. Neil Barnard. He's been studying gluten his whole career, and he's here to help end the confusion. Welcome back to the show. Great to be with you. We hear about gluten all the time these days. How much of a concern is it really for you? I know you deal with this day in and day out.
It's a huge concern because gluten is such a chameleon. You think, I've got irritable bowel, I've got brain fog. You could think that you're becoming demented, but the problem really relates to the gluten. And a recent study showed there are over 50 different conditions that can be attributable to the gluten. Things like anemia, osteoporosis. A person gets one test after another, they're starting getting treatment for depression, they're getting side effects. It's all related to the foods that they're eating, and when they get away from it, the symptoms vanish.
I love that idea of a chameleon disease because I see so many vague complaints, it's hard to tie them together. I hear it all the time from our audience. At least a possibility. Why is it so common now?
Well, part of it is an increased awareness, but that's not all there is to it. There really is a major increase in gluten sensitivity and gluten problems. It could be really two reasons. One is that there are more and more hybrids of wheat that are being developed all the time. There are 25,000 different varieties of them now. Some may have more gluten. The other thing is, if you think about it, decades ago, people made bread at home, and it had a long leavening process, and during that process, the gluten ends up being broken up. Nowadays, bread comes from a factory, and they're impatient to get it on the shelves, and so there's not so much time, and there may be more gluten in the final product.
I gotta say, at some point, almost everything has a genetic element to it. Do you think gluten's mostly in our genes and it's there to stay, or is it something that we acquire as we live our lives?
Well, you are not born with it. It can come on at any point. It can come on even in mid to later adulthood. But what you are born with are the genes that allow it to happen.
So you think that there are things, environmental changes, that are driving most of the increase that we're seeing?
I think it's partly that, and also it takes time for the environment to interact with the genes to express themselves as the time goes by.
And can you walk everybody through exactly how this itty-bitty protein, gluten, that's found in the wheat and the barley and the rye that I spoke of, actually causes damage to the body?
The problem is that the body recognizes the gluten as a foreign protein, it mounts a response, but the body overreacts and ends up attacking the various tissues of the body.
So, I love demonstrations. So I've got a little demo for everybody because I really want to hammer this point home. So imagine that you're living your life, enjoying everything that goes along with living the good life, and this is your body. In fact, it's your intestinal system specifically. And your intestines are full of all kinds of cells, but they also have tissues in there. The first time you eat something with gluten, let's say this sort of reddish material represents gluten in whatever food that you may be eating. Again, a lot of times it doesn't say it has gluten in it. You may not even realize that some of these products have it in there. Every time you do that, though, a little bit of gluten is included in the meal, and it creates a little bit of a reaction, a little bit of a fizzy, a little bit of an irritation. Every time you have something else that has some gluten in it, you're going to get more of that reaction, but it's going to get larger and larger and larger. And as you, without realizing,